why I feel in the face of all the problems in the world impotent, and why I somehow cannot manage to transform I. Now here we get to the real problem, because we're always telling each other that we should be different. Now I'm not going to tell you that tonight. Why not? Because I know you can't. Nor can I. That may sound depressing, but I'll tell you it isn't. It's very hard. But everybody, you see, who is at all sensitive and awake to their own problems and human problems is trying to change himself. We know we can't change the world unless we change ourselves. So when we are aware of the ego I, we are aware of this chronic tension inside ourselves. And that's not us. It's a futile tension. So when we get the illusion, the image of ourselves, married to a futile tension, you've got an illusion married to a futility. And then you wonder why I can't do anything.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's live stream. Let's go over this fantastic candle we just saw in Bitcoin. Goodness gracious, I woke up this morning and learned that $33 million of positions were liquidated today. Only on BitMEX, mind you. I'm sure there's even more on the other exchanges, but browsing Reddit this morning, I did see a nice screenshot of that, and, well, I'm sure people are quite upset about this candle. So let's actually talk about it, right? And we're going to do so by referring to our mean reversion conditions, right? Here on the 1 hour chart, our longest overexpanded period is 160. So I am going to open the 160 period right here, right? Beautiful. So, and actually, because we have the 160 period as our longest overexpanded period, we're also going to just do a 16 period here. Right, 1/10 period CCI roll downs are our short entries. Right, so anytime after the price has re-entered this band, anytime our CCI roll down, so here, here, and here, those are all our short entries. And our target for those shorts is either the 3.2 standard deviation or the mean itself, right? Since staying in shorts during periods of extreme values, well, that's not very logical, so short-term profit taking and eventual re-entry is always a good decision. What I'm thinking today is, why did this upward thrust fail? Well, that's a very simple reason, and it has to do with potential energy. So, if we take a look at 3D Wave PM, we know that price will compress laterally as defined by the longest overexpanded distribution, right? Which in this scenario is 160. So price will trade laterally as contained by that band until the following happens. Until we retrace, or rather until the 160 value on the 3D Wave PM retraces below the 0.7 value. Right, and we can actually visualize that by using just regular Wave PM as well. If we change this to 160, and we're going to look at the blue line here, okay? So price will not leave the range until this indicator, the blue line, the 160 period, crosses below the 0.7 value. So price cannot resume trend until that happens, or at least it would be very improbable for that to happen. And well, let me just point this out to you, just how consistent this is. And historically, the 160 is now going to be an arbitrary period. My dog is barking. Hey! Be nice. He's on the deck. He's sitting in the sun. So, Every time we're above the 0.9 value, you'll notice it goes below the 0.7 before it can return up to the 0.9, right? And this happens virtually every time for any period, right? Because it would require an unrealistic amount of force in order to return price action to a state of expansion while there's still low potential energy. So, with this in mind, we are seeing this rejection candle right here because there is not enough potential energy for the sustained trend, right? And sure, if we have this same candle when this goes below 0.7, okay, then it might actually end up being sustained. Until then, it's just an extreme value, okay? An extreme value that ended up liquidating quite a few people, mind you. So, I'd say a lot of patience is going to be required on this front, okay? I'm technically short right now, a very small short position, right? Simply because we have the active mean reversion condition from here, and, well, there is more downside than upside in the compressing range. It's as simple as that when you're attempting to define compressing price range, okay? And this would commonly be referred, I'm sure everyone around the internet is referring to this as a stop hunt today. I'll jump on that bandwagon. It's pretty convincing, right? So, and I do want to point out a prediction from earlier in the week. Bitcoin's, the more obvious the breakout pattern on Bitcoin, the less likely I find it to actually succeed. For instance, this super obvious breakout right here. Right? Everybody's looking at that. And they see the upward break. Oh, time for a long. And, well, now we're finding some resistance. And I'm still anticipating the potential jump that follows. Or dump that follows, excuse me. We also need to look at the long still expanded period for the 4-hour chart, which is 220. And miraculously enough, the 220 band... well, it's not really miraculous, it's just math. The 220 band really defines trend perfectly, right? Because as long as we are above this pivot, right, trend is technically sustained and the upward move is defined and sustainable. But the moment we cross inside the 220 band, the parabola is over. It will be the top for Bitcoin with around 95% probability, and I'm using that historically based on previous mean reversion conditions on Bitcoin, right? So if we enter this band and price sustains in that band for a short period of time, price will trade laterally as defined by decompressing 1.25 standard deviation. And well, that's certainly the end of the parabola. And what would that look like on a more macro scale, right? It would just be reaccumulation. It would be restoring the market to a state of potential energy. And while that happens, we're just going to get a short lateral move, sideways trading. And then, that's probably going to last around 3 months, 4 months. And then the next breakout, well, that's going to be the bull run, okay? So, we have a tiny, maybe a little bit of gas in the tank as long as we're above this line, but the more mass we generate, the harder it is going to be to push price up further. But the moment we re-enter the band, get ready for a long compression and the beginning of an alt season, right? Because if Bitcoin goes up, altcoins tank, and if Bitcoin goes down, altcoins tank. The best scenario for altcoins is if Bitcoin does nothing. And a very long period of compression is what I define as nothing, right? Sideways lateral trading, that's going to last a long time. So, be ready for alt season, and be ready for potential Bitcoin drop. You know, the mean reversion condition currently sits around 18%. Just at the bare minimum, at least try to set some stop losses if you're long below the pivot here, because if it breaks down, it's going to break down, mind you. All right, it's going to be a really clear break in the parabola if it just chooses to do so. Until then, don't short. You know, Bitcoin's still in an upward trend. Don't bet against the trend until the trend is over. Luckily, we have the tools to define the end of trend. So, with that in mind, stay safe, use a stop loss, have a beautiful day. Nice, guys. Let's check the YouTube comments, see what you guys want me to look at today. All right, we're going to check. Stop losses are great. Good man, you're 100% correct. Really, ask me about some altcoins. Otherwise, I'm just going to go replace my bike tire and go biking. That's how this day is going to turn out. Okay. What am I looking at today, though? Do I have anything on my radar? XRP still. Dude, I want a larger bag of XRP. I'm going to be honest. Just the buying pressure on every time there's been a swing low is just insane. And I would tremendously be you should also be able to long this on leverage coming up here pretty soon as well. All right. This is the most downward mass we've had all year. So any kind of sustained upward move is going to result in a very long-term mean reversion. It'll end up quite the bullishness, and the current target for that would be 8,000 sats. So it's definitely something to look forward to. Yeah, buckle up, guys, because this is going to be a huge play. And as soon as Bitcoin actually enters its compressionary period, XRP is going to have the room to really take off. Let's check out this clickbait article called "Are These Cryptocurrencies the Next to Skyrocket?" Ooh. I do not trust you. No, I'm not going to send my information to this advertising agency. Deny. Yeah, guys, always use a reverse firewall, man. It is insane. Oh, God. No, I shouldn't have clicked on this. They're trying to get my information. Okay, Ethereum, Golden Cross MA, ADA. Okay. God, look at this. This is embarrassing. Like, the after-the-fact falling wedges he's drawing here is just offensive. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really triggering myself here. Let's close that. Check Nano. I brushed it off yesterday, but it crossed the 4-hour mean reversion pivot. You know what? Okay. Yeah, we just have such a huge sustained downward trend. Kind of dangerous, man. I guess you're defining mean reversion on the 220 here, so check that out. You know, when you get these really thin plumes of mass like so, it's a lot higher risk. I think if we reduce the resolution, it might be a bit clearer. Not really. The problem is we have converse expansion, right? Where we have upward trend that's nicely defined, and then we see the initial mean reversion, which causes compression. But typically compressionary periods would end like so, right? Where price is just going to go sideways. But we actually had the re-expansion of those previously longest overexpanded periods, right? You notice how they never return below the 0.7 value on the highest ones? Right, that causes converse expansion, and it means your mean reversion pivots are conflicting, right? Because you're reading the generated mass from the previous move in addition to the current move, and if you don't have a solid compressionary period, you're going to have really strange price action. So it implies that there's significant downward force, and I don't want to bet against that. Okay, let's check out AE. Okay. Who would have expected lower lows, man? Ooh. Cup and handle. Woohoo! Just kidding. Hmm. 150, eh? It doesn't quite look right. Okay, I'm just trying to look at the previous downward trends. They're just so volatile with so many swing highs, swing lows. I'm sure this is quite scalpable in the lower time frames, but you're trying to generate a more macro level prediction on this is difficult. Okay, I guess we could try the 15-minute chart. This looks pretty tradable, actually. I'm not gonna lie. We could actually scalp this pretty well. Just be aware you're not going to be able to get a stop loss trigger, okay? That's going to be super important to point out. Because these huge candles here are essentially single sell orders. Which means if you have a stop loss here, it's really not going to trigger until it's all the way down here. So any kind of risk management you try on this pair is going to be really tough. Because these candles are single buys and sells. Yeah, any kind of risk management trading this kind of low volume chart is going to be hard. RVN, let's check it out. Hey. Higher high. Okay. I see what's happening here. This looks pretty good, man. I certainly wouldn't buy right now. Oh, but would I? Hold on. That's good, man. That is a good chart. This might be the bottom. Oh my god. Okay, the last time we got the signal we're seeing now was on... It's not bad, man. I'll tell you. Hold on. Jesus, you need a 15% stop loss, man. That's really risky. And you're tagging the 3.2 here. But it does imply upward expansion, and that's what's troubling. Yeah, this does have upward implications, but it's just so high risk at this current price. If you can try to find a swing low here, that might work out really well for you. It's a tempting upside. I'll give you that. And you do have pretty good buying pressure on the micros. It looks good, but it's very risky. Okay, RVN, XRP, AE, no new comments. I'm going to call it a day. I want to go biking. All right, friends, it has been a beautiful afternoon. I'll talk to you all tomorrow at 1 p.m. Have a good one.